I should be at the main gates.
No, I want you here.
The gates are the most vulnerable spot.
Are you questioning my orders, Inspector?
No, my lord.
Good.
What's happened?
Nothing's happened, sir. The crates arrived safely and they'll be here any minute. No problems.
Thank you, Peabody. My regards to Sergeant Wilton, and he can take his men to stand by as arranged.
No, I want them still on alert. Tell them, Sergeant.
Lord Cantlemere. Do it, Peabody.
Inspector York?
Keep them level. Steady. That's it. 6 crates, my lord. No damage, nothing to report.
The seals are intact?
Yes, sir.
Good. Open crate number 3.
My lord. One item as listed.
Now, take your men and wait over there. I'll call you when I want you.
Sir. Come on, lads.
Magnificent.
It certainly is. Which piece is this, sir?
The Versailles scepter.
Ah, and that's it, is it? What all the fuss has been about?
It is. The Mazarin diamond.
Peabody, get in here!
Quiet! Everybody shut up! Good. Very good.
The Mazarin Stone by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Dramatized for radio by Bert Coules. With Clive Merrison as Sherlock Holmes and Michael Williams as Dr. John Watson. And featuring Anthony Bate as Lord Cantlemere, Nigel Anthony as Count Silvius, and Joan Matheson as Mrs. Hudson. The Mazarin Stone.
My dear Holmes, I'm writing this in the gardens at Versailles. The weather is perfect, the scenery is lovely, and London seems a million miles away. Or at least it would, if the talk here wasn't all about the big exhibition at the British Museum next week. Jean was most uncomplimentary about my sense of timing. I told her your theory that every major duel is a nucleus and focus of crime. She immediately deduced that you will be going to see the collection and declared herself extremely jealous. My very best wishes to Mrs. Hudson, sincerely... No. No.
Oh, yes. Very nice. And just how are you going to get out of here with it?
One of these opens a lot of doors.
Do you know how many men I've got outside?
Shut your rag. I'm warning you.
Go on, then. Shoot me.
What?
You'll be flat on your face with the cuffs on before my body hits the floor. Isn't that right, Sergeant Peabody?
Quite right, Inspector.
I don't want nobody behind me. Oh, here.
Give it up, you fool!
Get off me!
Inspector!
Oh, my God. And declared herself extremely jealous.
Mr. Holmes, really?
My very best wishes to Mrs. Hudson.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, au revoir et bonne chance de la belle France Watson. This marriage has affected his brain.
Nonsense.
Just one moment, Mrs. Hudson.
Mr. Holmes?
No point in wasting it. So.
Of all the clumsy, incompetent... Look at this!
Please, my lord, give me a minute.
Oh, my leg!
Think yourself lucky.
Inspector!
Get him outside, Peabody.
Sir, come on, Sonny Jim.
Ow! Get a search going. He might not be on his own. Now, my lord.
Look at this.
What?
Are you blind? The stone's come out a bit setting.
Is it repairable?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
Then we'll get it to Hatton Garden or somewhere in the morning. I'll organise an escort.
No, that will not be necessary.
My lord?
Do you want to advertise the fact that something has gone wrong?
What shall we do then? Bring someone here?
I shall take it myself. Alone. Yes? Yes, that would be best.
One man, my lord. Plain clothes.
I want a guard on the other crates. Nothing to be unpacked until I return. Is that clear?
You don't mean you're taking it now, tonight?
You have your orders, Inspector. Follow them. Oh, get out of my way.
Sorry, my lord. We're searching now, sir, and I've sent for a doctor. Inspector?
Sorry, Fred. Yes, well done. Is he fit to talk?
Oh, yes.
Good. I want to know what the hell's going on here.
Have you heard one word I've said, sir?
When you opened your safe this morning, the sceptre was still there, but the diamond had gone. Fascinating.
Hardly the word I should have chosen.
You did search the safe thoroughly.
I do not appreciate flippancy, Mr. Holmes.
Tell me about the jewel.
The Mazarin stone, presented to the Cardinal by Anne of Austria in 1658, and the second largest cut diamond in existence. As you must surely know for yourself, sir, the wretched newspapers have been full of little else since the exhibition was announced.
You don't approve of the publicity?
I do not. It has done nothing but awaken the greed of the criminal classes.
If the government wanted to avoid that, why bring the jewels to England in the first place?
There are ramifications to this exhibition which you are incapable of comprehending.
Political ramifications.
Of the most delicate nature.
In that case, Lord Cantlemere, why are you so opposed to the idea of engaging my services?
What do you mean?
I mean that you are here under protest, possibly only because of a direct order from the Prime Minister.
How did you know that?
I didn't. Thank you for confirming the theory.
Oh, exactly the sort of cheap trickery I expected. I did not wish to come here, sir, because I do not approve of self-appointed experts who set themselves up in opposition to the official police. However, my personal feelings have been deemed of no consequence. You will begin immediately.
There is one trifling formality.
Oh, the question of your fee, sir?
The question, sir, of whether or not I shall accept the case.
I hadn't realised there was any doubt in the matter.
There seem to be a good many things which have escaped your lordship's realization. You may expect me at your house at 11:30. Good day.
Oh, how many times I read about the jewels in the paper and decided to have a go.
All by yourself?
Of course. Always work on me, Todd, I do. Ask anyone.
What about the gun?
What about it?
You were holding it like you'd never seen one before.
Well, maybe I don't like 'em.
Then why use one?
Look, Inspector, I tried a job, it didn't come off, and now I'm going to get banged up for it. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last. And that's all there is to it, all right?
Well, sir, have you identified the thieves?
Not as yet, my lord.
Despite tying up my entire household for the better part of a day and making a spectacle of yourself crawling over my study floor. Are these juvenile antics your usual methods?
These juvenile antics have led to the arrest of some of the most dangerous criminals in the Empire.
I am not interested in the past, sir. What significant insight have they given you into this particular case?
None.
Indeed.
Whoever burgled your safe, my lord, was an expert. He left absolutely no trace of his activities. I have to investigate further.
I want no more disruption of my house.
I shall disrupt what and whom I choose until this case is solved.
I tell you, sir, there are no criminals on my staff.
And I tell you, sir, that criminals are sometimes to be found in the most unexpected places.
Mr. Holmes.
Good afternoon, Ike.
You know him, sir?
Ah, we're old friends, Mr. Saunders and I, aren't we, Ike? How's the leg?
It's all right. What are you doing here, Mr. Holmes?
Find my presence upsetting, dear?
Of course not.
Perhaps you're scared of what I'll find out.
There's nothing to find out. It was just another job, that's all.
Oh, Ike, please. Trying to walk off with a priceless hoard of world-famous jewels not exactly a usual line of work now, is it?
Perhaps I don't want to be a Barney all my life. Perhaps I was trying to get on in the world.
Well, you failed.
I don't need to be told.
I'll give you a tip. Next time, try waiting until there are less policemen about.
We can't all have your savvy, Mr. Holmes.
True enough. Who put you up to it?
What do you mean?
Don't waste my time. Who paid you to pull this robbery?
Sorry, Mr. Holmes. I don't know what you're on about.
Here you are.
Oh, thank you.
I'm afraid it won't have improved since the last time you were here. Decent tea-making isn't one of the qualifications for new constables. So, you think that Saunders was working for someone else?
It's a possibility.
But why would anyone set up a job like that? He could never have got away with it.
Perhaps he wasn't meant to.
You mean he was supposed to fail?
Do you remember the Milan Rembrandt case, 78?
Never heard of it, I'm afraid.
There's not any tea-making missing from the training programme. The history of crime. It's a vital study.
What happened in this Milan case?
Yeah, there was an attempt to snatch a Rembrandt from a gallery. A farcical attempt.
Farcical? How?
And the thief simply tried to lift the painting off the wall and walk out with it. He was arrested in seconds.
Well, I suppose there are similarities.
I haven't finished. Later that evening, while the guards were still busy congratulating themselves, the picture quietly disappeared. It's never been seen since.
Oh, that's clever. Lull them into a false sense of security, then strike for real.
Exactly.
But how does that fit in with this case? The diamond didn't disappear from the museum.
Ah, yes, but the damage to the sceptre was an unforeseen complication. If it hadn't happened, I'll wager there would have been a break-in that night. As things turned out, it wasn't necessary.
Because the stone was very obligingly taken somewhere else.
Somewhere considerably easier to burgle.
So whoever put Sanders up to the first attempt also pulled the actual theft?
It's highly probable. If I can study the crimes of the past, then so can someone else.
Then let's talk to Sanders again. Get the name.
You won't. You'll be wasting your time.
I can be very persuasive, Mr. Holmes.
Use your brain, man. Saunders knew perfectly well he'd be caught. What's the only reason for him to have agreed to do it?
I suppose if someone had some hold over him.
Money! Enough money waiting for him when he comes out to make the whole thing worth his while. He's not going to do anything to antagonize his employer, however persuasive you get.
So we're looking for someone not short of a bob or two. Look, Mr. Holmes, I'd be grateful if this didn't go any further, but, well, it has struck me that Lord Cantlemere...
Yes, it struck me too. But it doesn't make any sense, does it? No, 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 no. What is it?
Just to clear your tray, sir. Mr. Holmes, that was a very fine piece of lamb. You haven't so much as touched it.
Digestion saps the energy.
Yeah, the energy. Yes, you've told me before. I didn't believe it then, and I don't believe it now.
My dear Mrs. Hudson, I do not require forced feeding at regular intervals. I'm not some zoological specimen.
No, one of those would be far less bother. Things not going your way, then, sir?
Oh, my brain seems to have emulated Watson and taken itself off somewhere else.
Now, that's quite enough of that. Perhaps it would help to talk about it.
I doubt it.
Well, then, you talk and I'll listen. It'll help you get things straight in your mind.
Well, there's precious little to talk about.
Now, I'm sure that's not true. No clues at all. No suspects.
Mrs. Hudson, how long have you had these inclinations towards detective work?
About as long as I've been reading the doctor's stories.
Those wretched stories have a lot to answer for.
They're very good stories as well, you know. Now, come along, I want to help. What's that poor piece of paper you've nearly scribbled to death?
It's a list. Everyone who was present when the attempt was made on the jewels.
And why are they important?
Well, because in order to steal something, you have to know where it is, or where it's been taken. The only people who could have known that the Mazarin stone was in Lord Cantlemere's possession are the people on this list.
So one of them must be the thief?
Yes, or working for him, or with him, either voluntarily or otherwise. Sit down, Mrs. Hudson. This is giving me a pain in my neck.
Thank you, sir. Have you talked to them yet?
Mrs. Hudson, your method of listening seems to involve asking an inordinate number of questions.
Yes, sir, it does, doesn't it? Would you prefer me to leave?
Yes, I've talked to all of them and learned absolutely nothing.
Then there's no point in just making lists of their names and creating more litter for me to clean up, is there? What did you find out from the scene of the crime?
That our jewel thief is an uncommon burglar. The break-in at Cantlemere's house was the cleanest I've ever seen.
You can tell a good deal about a man from how tidy he is. Or how untidy.
Not a footmark, not a broken blade of grass, not a speck of mud or a smear of dust, nothing.
Well, when you catch him, I'd like to meet him. I've been taking gentlemen lodgers for more years than I care to remember, and the only time my room has been that clean was when there was nobody in them.
Exactly the point I keep coming back to myself. Perhaps I do have one suspect, but why? What's the motive? It's not logical.
Is it impossible?
No.
Well, then you shouldn't rule it out, should you? Eliminate the impossible.
And whatever remains, however improbable...
must be the truth.
Mrs. Hudson, have you memorized every one of my pronouncements to Watson?
Oh, no, sir. Only the sensible ones. It's a good principle.
Yes, it is.
Then perhaps you should follow it.
Yes, perhaps I should. Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
You're more than welcome, sir.